Hey there, and welcome to the A.D.K Rock and Metal channel. I, of course, am Dave. There is no Andy or Kirk with me today as they are off doing other things for the channel. But today I am joined by the wonderful Matt Graves of Munkys Metal Madhouse. How the hell are you doing, Matt?
Oh, I'm awesome, mate. Absolutely awesome. And it's a pleasure to be here. Nice to be on the other end of the...
So you get to sit there and answer questions today, not ask them, which makes a bit of a change for you.
Yeah, hoping it's easier.
Well, hopefully I don't throw you any kind of weird curveball questions, but
it shouldn't be hard. I've already had a couple of beers, so
you're relaxed. We're going to talk about obviously the main thing I want to talk about is obviously the radio station. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is it's Ridge Radio. For those that don't know what Ridge Radio is, could you just give us a little bit of a background of what it is?
Yeah, well, it's basically sort of one of the last sort of surviving local radio stations. It serves Tandridge and Surrey. It's volunteer based, so we all do our little bits to try and keep it running. It's based in Caterham in Surrey, in an old World War II bunker type room, underneath a local community centre, basically. And it's just a local radio station that broadcasts through the internet. So rather than being purely internet, you got the live aspect, so it's always running 24/7, but you have DJs in like you would a normal radio station. So yeah.
Because how did you get involved in the radio then? Because had you done anything like this before, or was this just like you were like, you know, fuck it, I'm just going to give it a go and see what happens?
Literally that. All it was. Yeah. I like to take opportunities, whatever they might be, and run with them. You know, if I'm offered something that I'm even remotely interested in, I'll you know, run it till the wheels fall off, and you know, see if it's something I want to do. And as it happened, I was doing some volunteer work for the community centre above when I moved into the area, and as a thank you, they said you can have use of the halls for a night, for an evening. So I thought, oh, awesome, I'll get my band down to play, we'll get a couple of other bands on, we'll do a charity gig, and we had this awesome gig for Alzheimer's, did really well. But in the process of that, I was looking for some free publicity, because I didn't have any funds to put this on. I was just, it's all the money's going to charity, just, you know, hopefully some kind people have put some stuff forward. And I was talking to the hall about this, and they said, oh, well, if you want some free publicity, you do realise the other two rooms that are rented out downstairs are the local newspaper and the local radio station. So I went down there cap in hand for a bit of free publicity. The newspaper kindly gave us half a page for free to advertise it. And the radio station said, well, you can advertise as much as you want if you get your own show. I said, okay, but I'm only doing hard rock and metal. And they said, all right then. And that's it. It just went from there. And now it's just a really cool way of meeting awesome musicians and various people in the industry and networking bands together and just enjoying. Yeah, it's great. Love it.
So you obviously mentioned band there, so we should at least get a plug in. What's your band? You still doing band? Come on, get it in there.
It's not actually. No, I actually left that in November. The beginning of the radio station, I was in that band, but we're not doing that at the moment. So I'm in between projects at the minute.
In between projects. So if anyone's, I'm assuming guitarist here, but looking at the fact,
no, drummer all the way. This is just eye candy.
This is, you can't actually play them. You just have them on the walls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyone looking for a guitarist? There we go, Matt. Give him a shout. Pester him on the radio station. There we go. I was curious about the time slots then, because I did have kind of look through the different hosts and different channels. So did you go there and went, I want a Monday evening and I want this slot, or did they go, this is what's available and that's all you can have?
Pretty much. They had a few slots going through during the day, which I can't do because I'm working. And when it came to evenings, the only one that was free was a Monday. And I thought at first it was a bit of a turn off. And I thought, well, why not? What am I doing on a Monday night? Nothing. Yeah. So what most people are doing on a Monday night, it's a perfect time for someone to actually tune in and listen to a radio station. I mean, you know, unless you're a borderline alcoholic, I mean, you still do that at home. Yeah. But you know, your chances are that's the one day of the week you're going to get people in and listening. So I thought, you know,
that is true.
As long as it's as long as you get the publicity out there, hopefully I've got more of a shot than a Friday night or a Saturday night or something like that. So
9 o'clock on a Friday night, you're going to struggle, aren't you? Really?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas 9 o'clock, I get home from work, have me dinner, stop by Morrison's, which is next door to the station, pick up a few beers, and that's it. If I've got no guests in, it's just feet up, play some drum. There's a nice riot with people in the studio, and sometimes it's a hectic Zoom thing where everything goes wrong.
Yes, as we know.
Exactly, yeah.
So obviously, as it's being like volunteers, etc., I have to ask then. So, what if you just have a week off? Do you just not have a show on, or is it just music that's played? So, if you're not feeling well, you've got COVID and you can't go in, or you've booked for say a holiday, maybe actually go in somewhere. Do you get someone else to come in and host it, or how does that work?
No, I just record a playlist for them to play. If I've got time. I mean, to be fair, this has actually happened 3 times. No, 4 times. One when it fell over Download Fest at the end of Download Festival, and I was just a wreck. I wasn't feeling it. The other time was I was abroad on holiday, and the other 2 were Christmas Day and New Year's Day just gone because, well, for obvious reasons. So if I've got the time leading up to it, I will actually talk in between the songs a bit and plug some gigs and stuff like that. So it's almost like I'm there. And if I don't, I'll just do a playlist of cool tracks and just say, look, I'm not going to be in, but do tune in because there's some great bangers from all the local bands and whatnot. So, yeah. But, yeah, I will get down there by hook or by crook. I'm only actually 3-minute walk from the radio station.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I can roll down the hill in through the door. So, you know, I'd have to be pretty much on my deathbed to not get down there. I love it. So I'll go there one way or another.
Got the passion for it.
That's it. Yeah, got the bug.
I have to ask, where did the name of your show come from then?
All right. All the way through my life, I've had the nickname of Monkey for various different reasons. Like early school might have been because I'm a bit hairy. And then in my teens, I used to get a bit drunk and climb stuff a lot. So, you know, one way or another, be cheeky, it sort of stuck. And I thought I needed to use like an alias or something. I might as well use something that some people already know me by. And then I asked my other half, you know, to come up with some suggestions, and she actually came up with that, and I thought that sounds pretty cool. So let's run with it. All the M's, my name's Matt as well. It all sort of gels.
It all kind of works together, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How long have you been doing this show?
July 20. Was the beginning of July 22. I think it was. My first show. No, sorry, tell a lie. Would have been tail end of June because my first show was a download special. I thought, what am I going to do my first show? I've just come back from the festival, so I might as well just do that. That's like a nice current theme. So yeah, so it must have been around there. Yeah.
And when you sort of set up and went, right, I'm going to do this, it's going to be a great way to promote. What was your did you kind of set out a kind of goal of what you wanted to achieve? Like, right, in the first year, I just want to get out certain things, or by year 2, I want to be having regular guests on, or what was your kind of vision for what this show is all going to be about?
I didn't have one to start with. My sort of mantra was just don't be shit. Try not to be shit.
I think we all try that one.
Yeah, and I'm fully aware. I'm very conscious. I think a lot of mistakes you don't hear because it's hard to differentiate when you're sitting behind the desk of what's actually gone out, what hasn't gone out. So certain mistakes are covered up, and some are just glaringly obvious. But I think I like the fact that I am a bit all over the place with it and still finding my feet after this time. Just because it adds a realness to it. I like a non-polished area. I mean, hard rock and metal is not about being polished. I mean, there's certain places you can go if you want to listen to like the top 10 metal tracks on repeat for 3 hours at a time and same generic BS chat. At least this, like, anything can happen. You know, it might be an interesting one, it might not, it might be hilarious, it might not. You know, the unknown is like playing live. It's just like a taste of the unknown. Unknown. So. Now I've started to have more goals. I want to maybe start putting on a few gigs, try and do some charity stuff and get the bands that I've had on involved, so maybe we can showcase them in areas that live music's maybe dying out a bit, give free tickets to local bar managers and stuff so they can check out that it's worth doing. Try and do something like that. And I thought about the other day, what would be really cool is to do something like a charity single or charity EP, dust off the old guitar, get a few other band members from different bands and just do a charity single, like a Live Aid, but with balls.
Big balls, metal balls,
thrash metal balls. Yeah. We'll see. I'll shoot for it and see if we get there.
Yeah, well, that's the best thing to do. Is just go for it and then just see what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So what sort of planning goes in? Because I know from an A.D.K. For our schedule, we do all of our videos. So we put out content every day, but we don't film every day. We film anywhere between 1 week and 2 weeks worth of content in one go. So we'll get together for anything between 2 to 4 hours, and then we'll just film. and film and film, but we have to plan all those filmings in advance, and any album reviews and stuff we always have to go into. So I know there's a lot of planning and then a lot of work afterwards. But when you're doing a radio show, what planning do you put into each weekly show?
None.
Just turn up and go, fuck it, let's see what happens.
Exactly. Well, to be fair, when I took it on, I was already working 3 jobs and I was in the band. And what comes with the band as well is all the promotion on social media for that. And it's just the time involved. It's more a case of I will sit down the Sunday before and bung a playlist on a memory stick. And then if I've got a set of interview questions for if I've got bands on, and even those don't get used half the time, I give them to them and say, look, if we get stuck on stuff to talk about, I might pull a couple of these out. But, you know, we've got the bonus of being off air to discuss it before we go back on again. So if they're not comfortable and don't want to do it, we can just move around and find something else. Yeah. But more often than not, we start chatting and we just go off one and then play a few of their songs and play, And it's just completely improv. That's why it sounds a bit terrible sometimes, I think, because I'll go in half cut and something's not working on the desk and I can't figure out why it's not working, and I'm just chatting flannel trying to kill so I don't have dead air. It's, you know, a lot of that does happen, but I don't know if that's funny to listen to. It might be. Who knows?
I'll ask the listeners, I guess. So when you're putting these playlists, it suddenly just dawned on me that obviously you will have your own, very much your own personal taste in music. So how hard is it not to just kind of go, these are all of my favourite songs and this is what they're going to listen to?
Yeah, that I'm quite conscious of doing that, but I'm lucky to have quite a broad taste anyway. Yeah. But no, I kind of see on like social media stuff that's floating about bands like I suddenly randomly remember. Sometimes the Spotify, when it throws up random bands, you might like this. You know, I might make a note of those as well. That's just a sort of mental note and just drag a couple of tracks in. But yeah, I purposefully try and find things that I'm not as keen on as well to make a point of balance out. And I do like to really try and jump it from something really heavy, something relatively light. I mean, I don't really go much lighter than grunge, but in comparison to like death, grindcore, black metal, and you know the like, it's nice to play like a Cradle of Filth track and then play an Alice in Chains track, and like it's a bit of something for everyone, keeps you guessing. But it just makes it really random. And I ask requests of bands that come on, you know, stuff that's influenced them.
Oh, yeah.
Anything that doesn't get played when they're on just goes to the side. I might play it another time. I've never heard of this one. Let's throw that one, see what that does. Let's hope for the best.
It is a massive challenge because I put together the video schedule for A.D.K. And I'm not an extreme metal guy, so there's occasionally we have to do one, but I'm like, I don't want to do Lorna Shore, I can't do it. But like I can see in your background, you've got the wonderful COC banner in the background.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely love that one. And when I spoke to with Andy and Kirk on the channel, I'm like, COC or Corrosion of Conformity, have you heard of them? I've heard of them, but never heard them. I'm like, right, that's it. Education.
That's it.
Getting schools in session. Like Stonebreaker, Vote with a Bullet. I was like throwing them every track, and you've got to go through it. And had a wild ride with that one. But yeah, I do find this thing, if people haven't heard of a band that I kind of grew up in the 90s and early 2000s with, I'm like, I'm playing that for you. You've got to hear this band, because if you haven't, you're missing out.
Yeah, I do that. I do like with my other half. I was playing a track by Misery Loves Code.
Yeah.
You know them?
Yeah.
The track is My Mind Still Speaks. And I was playing it, and my missus likes a bit of industrial stuff. She likes like Ministry and stuff. And she's like, oh, what's this? And she's like, now, every time it's on one of her top played songs last year on Spotify, she's like, how did I never hear of these bands? Yeah. So they're just awesome. And they are proper, like, no one seems to remember them. So.
No. I mean, I talk to people about bands like Mary Beats Jane and stuff like that, and they're like, who? And I'm like, right, sorry, that's it. Blood and Oil, I'm playing that for you because you're going to love that track.
Exactly, yeah.
Start pulling full well players. Right, I should go back to the questions. I did have something. Oh, yes, here we go. So, when you're putting these shows together, do you think about how much of the content should be more well-known tracks, i.e. by established acts, versus grassroots acts? How much do you try and kind of give yourself like a percentage in your head, like 50% of the show is going to be unknown bands from grassroots level, and then at least 50% will be a mixture of styles, or do you kind of just see how it is each week?
Pretty much go with the established acts, your Metallicas, your Slipknots, Fear Factories, I pretty much use them as filler now. When I first started out, because I had a long hiatus from the scene in general. While I was married, I just sort of fell out of sync with it all, and I didn't listen to any new music. Anyway, about 4 or 5 years ago, I got right back into it again. Then I got a band going, fell into the radio show, and blah blah blah. And because of that, there's loads of music from this before, and even actually, I hadn't heard Trevor until 4 years ago, and I was like, "Oh, I really like these. These are cool." And I'm trying to catch up with all of that and listen to all this new underground stuff and grassroots stuff.
Yeah,
which is a lot of content to try and absorb. So it's kind of like I love that, but I'm probably not going to suck around again for a while. So because of that, I started out just plugging stuff in from bands I'd heard of that I wanted to hear, and stuff that I hadn't heard for a long time. That stuff I grew up on. And then as I started meeting more and more bands, obviously more of their stuff came in, and now it's predominantly the independent bands that are getting played. And if you could, now I'd say probably it's about 20% is like a big old time established famous act, as it were. Whereas ratio was probably the other way around when it started, because I just didn't know anyone and I hadn't been in the scene. So now I'm absorbing more and getting referred more, and so now it's very much more dedicated to the helping the unknown.
is it with the unknown bands or the grassroots bands? Is for them to get onto the radio show, i.e. to have their music played or to come on and do an interview? Is it just that they approach you, or is it a case that you've come across them through referrals, checked them out and think, you know what, they'd be a great fit for the channel or for the radio show, and you approach them and say, would you like I reached out to you and was like, I'd like to have you on the channel, because I knew you were doing a lot with grassroots. The first thing I heard about yourself doing the radio show was the fact that we were posting in a lot of the same Facebook groups. So I'd post in it, and then the next sort of post I'd see would be something from you, or you'd post something and I'd post something not far after it. And I was like, hang on, he's doing a lot of stuff with grassroots bands, and we do stuff with grassroots bands. We should really talk and both do stuff with grassroots bands.
Yeah, I could probably give you some people to check out and stuff.
we've got plenty of them. But yes, how do these grassroots bands kind of come up on your channel then?
It is. I do come across the odd one myself, just through friends of friends, and if I like them, I'll approach them. But to be perfectly honest, it's just kind of a first come, first serve. It started off where I was trying to get odds and sods to come on, and I'd have a band on every, I don't know, 2-3 months, something like that. And then it got to about July last year, so I've been running about a year. And before I knew it, I was getting a band on this week, band on this week, band on this week. And now, from about that point, it was a band on virtually every week to where we are now, and I'm booked up now to May. And it's just like, wow. So now it's just like, I don't really, I have it in my diary. It's just like, well, I need to start looking at booking some more bands on, to look around and try and find some stuff. But by the time I get there, I've already got like enough that have approached me. I mean, it's not big numbers. It doesn't need to be, but I will play anyone and everyone. I don't care whether I like it or not. I mean, I'm lucky that I've liked everything that I've played, varying degrees. But I want to be like the John Peel of hard rock and metal, which is a reference that only us older ones will get. That's what it's before my time, really. But but yeah, I want to hear it, and I want to share it. And everyone deserves a chance to be heard, and if I can facilitate that in any way, I'll give it a go.
Because you've answered a little bit there. Because my next question was around whether you go hunting for new music. Because I know from our point of view, our approach has always been, well, we know a lot of the venues, so we're always looking at what gigs are on, and we obviously between myself, Andy, and Kirk, will try and attend the shows and try and capture some footage so that we can do a kind of live review of it, promote it on the channel. But we always like to see which bands are on, and if it's a new band that we've never interviewed, because through Metal to the Masses, we interviewed all the bands that competed in the Hertfordshire Metal to the Masses. That was great, because that gave us 32 band interviews over the space of 8 weeks, and we were just like, every band was on the show. But then we were like, now we're doing exactly the same. We're waiting for the next round of this year's Metal to the Masses, and we'll be interviewing all those bands again as part of that and covering the show. But is there any particular places that you would go if you were trying to find out the latest bands in the scene or stuff like that? Is there any particular routes, websites, channels, people that you go to, Facebook pages?
No, to be honest, I'm still kind of finding my way because of the break that I've had. And it's only been really last year I started actually getting myself to a few smaller shows. And I've got the bug back for that. And I've already got like, I don't know, a dozen like shows to go to for this year already, like done, tickets paid, ready to go. So I really want to get out there. But I work not too far from Fighting Cocks in Kingston. So I checked that out for the first time a few months ago to see Imperium play because I was having them on the show, and I thought, they're just up the road from where I work. Sod it, I'll drive up there, I'll check them out, and then while I was there, I was, see who else is playing, and then I'll speak to them, and then I start befriending them. I'll see all their gig posters, and then I'll hear videos from the other bands, and then it sort of goes from there. And I think word of mouth starting to spread about my show as well. It seems like people. I'll speak to a band and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, no, we knew about you already, or we're hearing people talk about you." And so organically, it feels like it's growing as well. Yeah. But the places to go, I think I'm going to check out Voodoo in London. Being based where I am, it's pretty much going to be more out that way. Although back in the day when I was in my late teens, used to go to Gravesend, Leo's Red Lion.
Oh yeah, Red Lion, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to go down, make a point of checking a couple of those out. Whole Rod Arms in Guildford in Surrey. I got down there last year. That was a cool little venue. So I'm hoping to go back there. And I want to get down to Brighton. I am going to Brighton, actually, see the Hellfire Club and One Last Day and Lost Asylum. 3 bands I've had on the show, all in one go. And they're playing down in Brighton. There's a few places. I think it's Hope and Ruin, potentially. It's called. But there's a good little bit of scene going on down there from what I can understand. A good few pubs to sort of get some life back into it. So I'm going to get down that way. Guildford, Brighton, and then sort of like Kingston, Fighting Cocks, and sort of London, New Crossing, the Dev, Blackheart, that sort of stuff.
That's always a good place to check out.
So I'm going to be all up in all of that this year. So
I'm just wondering, because in Kingston there used to be a pub called, was it the Grey Horse? And I think they used to put on shows near the station. I think that was not far up the road from there. There was another one that used to, I think it was more like indie rock bands, but that was the only two, the Fighting Cocks and the Grey Horse, two that I remember from that area. There used to also be what was called the Peel, which had a rehearsal studio underneath it.
Oh, right, cool.
Had a live music venue and a strip bar around the other side of it. So that was in Kingston. So I grew up
when do I move in?
Well. It's been a while since I've been up that way, many years, probably about 10 years now. But yeah, a bit wild back. So anyway, last question I did have for you was, so what have you got? You've obviously talked about the gigs you want to cover off this year. What's your kind of next plan for, I guess, the next 12 months or so? That you want to kind of do with the show going forward, because I've noticed you've been doing some like polls and stuff on Facebook to try and get some ideas. What other ideas have you got for the channel or your show?
Well, the idea of the polls and to get a bit more I'm trying to get a bit more audience interaction. That's the goal. I think before I can go to the next step and start trying to arrange some gigs, I can look at trying to do the charity sequel. That's something I've only thought about recently, so that doesn't really have a time scale on it. I can start that whenever. But before I start trying to put gigs in places, I need to know it's going to work and be viable. Because the whole point is to get local areas to see. We did the charity gig I mentioned before myself. We did it with zero budget, and we managed to make something like £600 to £800 for Alzheimer's Society, and the hall ran the bar. And then, because they're a charity, that money went into that charity, and that was about the same amount of money. And that was only with 60 metalheads coming in. So I just need to get more of a vibe of whether people are hungry for this, as I think that they are, and whether they're going to put their money where their mouth is to a degree. And show up. So I need to get some more. I need to get more people calling into the show. Well, not calling, but messaging into show live. And the only way I can do that is by maybe starting up some sort of interaction through social media, and maybe it will carry over. I'm also going to get up onto like Mixcloud. I'm going to get all my old interviews put up onto Mixcloud in the next few months as well. So hopefully all of that will help gain a bit more traction to the point I can start thinking about putting on some shows and stuff.
That sounds good.
Pretty much. Fingers crossed.
Well, fingers crossed for me. I mean, it's been great actually having a chance to chat to you about it, and I wish you the best with everything you're going to be doing over the next sort of 12 months. Hopefully, we'll have a chance at some point to meet him face to face over a drink at one of these venues. It would be really good to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Just want to say thank you for coming on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure. I really appreciate being asked. That's really cool.
Thank you very much for joining.
Cheers, mate.